Well, you guys know, of course, that there is the Paramount lawsuit going on, but there have been some developments. And look, just to give a highlight to everybody again, just follow along because I believe it's important every time we talk about this to just lay this groundwork, okay? Number one, a number of states, 12 states in total, are bringing a lawsuit to stop the Paramount Warner Brothers merger. The reason they're doing it is because the merger breaks the law. That is actually an adjudicated fact that it does. As we go over and look, the Clayton Act says that you're not allowed to have a merger if it will lessen competition and have the potential to create a monopoly. The Supreme Court said that the threshold for proving that is if a merger would make a company exceed 30% market share in a given industry. Then Judge Martinez of this Paramount case ruled in one of the preliminary hearings that, yup, it does indeed look like this merger will indeed exceed that Supreme Court instituted 30% threshold, which therefore puts it in violation of the Clayton Act. And that looks like the way this is going to go. And that is the time when David Ellison changed his tune from running around saying, we're going to win this lawsuit. This is going to be great for the industry. We're going to be so good for California. We're going to create so many jobs. And then all of a sudden like that, it switched to, fuck you. We're going to move out of California. If you don't give me what we want, we're going to move. Like that's the reason that he suddenly changed tune, was because it became apparent that, yep, the courts are looking at this and saying this is an illegal thing. Now, this is a very, very similar situation to when Disney was buying Fox, because the Department of Justice brought a lawsuit against that merger as well and forced Disney into a settlement where Disney agreed to cut out a whole bunch of the stuff they were going to get in order to make it go through. Now, that leads us to where we're at right now. Both Paramount and the states want to settle. They want to settle it. Both sides do. The question is, are they going to be able to come to an agreement of what would equal a settlement? Because here's the thing. Paramount is, you might have heard these two phrases. Paramount has been suggesting what's the terminology calls behavioral remedies. So things like, we double pinky swear that we will put out 30 films a year. That's a behavioral remedy. We double pinky swear that we're going to treat the writers really nice. That's behavioral remedies. What the states have said they're looking for is what's called structural remedies. A structural remedy requires a permanent physical change to the business, typically forcing the companies to sell off or spin off assets, studios, or networks to an independent competitor. It serves as a one-time fix that directly preserves the market competition without needing ongoing regulatory oversight. In other words, what the states are saying they want to settle is, hey, this deal breaks the law. Sell off some actual structural things that brings you back under that 30% threshold and then puts you in good standing with the law, and we'll settle and we'll give you the green light to go ahead with the merger, right? So that's been the whole thing. Both sides say they want a settlement. They're just looking to settle on different things. Paramount wants to be able to settle on behavioral remedies, making a lot of promises, even being willing to put it in writing, whereas the states are wanting structural remedies. Well, you may have heard that the two sides scheduled a meeting this week. They were supposed to meet today. Paramount and the states were supposed to meet and have settlement negotiations today. But the meeting got canceled because one side leaked. There was supposed to be a confidential communications they had, and one side leaked it out to the media. And so the states have said, you're acting in bad faith. You're trying to turn this into a circus, so we're not going to meet with you today. Now, at some point, they're going to get back together in a room and they're going to start to discuss some possible solutions. I talked to somebody, and I'm not the only one. There are other people out in the space who have heard this same thing as me. So this is not exclusive to me. I'm not pretending like I have the secret inside sauce. I'm not. But I did talk to somebody who revealed, and some of this is in the media as well, what some of the options on the table are for structural remedies that could satisfy the states and the WGA's lawsuit and clear the way for the Paramount Warner Brothers deal to go through. And a couple of them shocked me. Let's take a look. Here's some of the ones, and I'm just going to do this really quickly. One is divest a major film studio or distribution arm. What this one is basically saying is there's two different ways to approach it. The states are saying, tell you what, get rid of Warner Brothers Animation and sell off New Line and sell off this other studio, and that will satisfy the Clayton Act. That will bring you below that 30%, we believe, and that will satisfy it. But another version of that is that Bonta for the states has told Paramount, keep Warner Brothers as a completely separate operating studio. Because right now, of course, Paramount's plan, the strategy right now is to merge Warner Brothers into Paramount and make one studio. So what the states are bringing to the table and suggesting is, tell you what, you still own Warner Brothers, but you make a commitment to let them operate with their own board, their own budgets, their own decisions. Let them completely continue to operate as their own independent studio, like Netflix was going to let them do. Do that, and we might have something to talk about. So that's one of the things on the table. One of the other things on the table is to spin off key cable networks. And we're not just talking about CNN. We're talking about TBS, TNT, MTV, Cartoon Network, CNN, like all that cable stuff, because they're also going to be violating the 30% in the cable market. So one of the things that I understand Paramount is considering is the idea of spinning off all the cable networks. Now, as a friend of mine often points out to me, that's going to be very, very difficult for Paramount to do because, guys, you know that Paramount is going to be facing a $110 to $111 billion debt once this is all done.
Yep.
And these cable networks, as much as they're disappearing and they're going extinct and going out of style, right now, that's the money generator. Right now, that's what's generating the money. And so Paramount needs that revenue stream, but it is one of the things that they are apparently considering. A third thing that's been brought to the table is to sell off production facilities and lot space. We're talking about iconic lots of the Paramount lot, the Warner Brothers lot, and a lot of auxiliary sort of things that they've got around there to say, hey, I'll tell you what, sell all those things off so that other competition can have them. It'll keep employment vibrant, all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things that's on the table too. Now we'll get to number 4 in a second. For now, let's skip to number 5. Number 5, keep broadcast and regional ops independent. I've even heard, guys, it's been put on the table of selling off CBS, saying sell off CBS and actual network assets, not just, and network operations, spin those off. And then maybe that's something to talk about. That's certainly an intriguing thing. Again, it would be a big, big cut for Paramount, but apparently it's something that their legal team is looking at. But let's look at that number 4 one. This is the one that kind of surprised me a bit. Carve out franchise IP and libraries. Not just carve out a specific, spin off New Line. Carve out franchise IPs. In other words, okay, fine. Take Warner Brothers, but that puts you in violation of the law. But maybe if you sell off some big IPs, that will mitigate your control of the industry, and we might be satisfied with that it brings you under 30%, if not in actual numbers, then in spirit. That would include, I've been told this is all on the table. Harry Potter, DC, like DC Studios as a whole, right, straight up being sold off. And a couple of other major properties as well. And it is flabbergasting to imagine Warner Brothers, under whoever's ownership, letting Harry Potter go or letting DC go. but it's something Paramount has to honestly and seriously look at if those become potential keys in greenlighting the deal to go through. Because don't forget that October 31st is coming quickly, or October 1st is coming. Is it October?
Yeah,
I think it's, yeah, end of October, where that late fee is starts ticking.
It's October 1st.
Yeah. What was the tune of it? $7 million a day?
Something. I thought it was 11, but I think seven's right.
It's a lot of money. It's more money than I'll ever see in my life per day. Per day starts ticking. So all these things here represent what we were talking about here as being structural remedies rather than double pinky swear behavioral remedies. Actual things that they need to do to change the structure of their merger that would then satisfy the lawsuit and make it go away, much like what happened with the Disney and Fox merger. And I'll tell you what, guy, the one that, I mean, a lot of these make sense. Sell off one or two of the major studio components, spin off the cable networks, let Warner Brothers operate independently, sell production space. Like, all these things sound reasonable. These all sound like things that, yeah, it makes sense that you would ask for that. All of them would hurt. Like, if you're Paramount, having to cut out any of these things would hurt, but it's going to take to bring it within the good graces of the law. But the one that really fascinates me is the carving out franchises.
Because you're devaluing.
Every one of these things.
But the core of what you're purchasing, which is the studio.
Right.
I look at the
every
cable
one of these things devalues it, though, right? Like,
Sure.
every one of these things devalues it to a degree.
Yeah. But the core of the studio, not the cable companies and all that. You know what I mean?
The question is what happens.
What are you willing to do?
Yeah. Well, the question is also, when it comes to the money side of it, is okay. And talking about the ones you're selling off IP. When you look at it, because the first things that I think the three of us, when you bring that up, is you think, like you said, John, DC and Harry Potter, right? Now Harry Potter is going to definitely be giving a little bit more juice now because of the TV series, right? And maybe if they do another movie down the line, but DC is the one. You've still got Batman. You still have these plans for DC. You still have an opportunity to put a lot of money in your bank if you do it the right way. And how long does Harry Potter have? Who knows? A couple seasons, 5 seasons, another movie. DC, you can make 87,000 Batmans for the next however many years. If you keep rebooting it and doing the things with all the characters that you have, you can continue to try to do it. So I think out of the two of them, you probably try to sell Harry Potter off to maybe Universal or something, considering that they have it at the theme park. But those are to me, what Jonathan was saying. He just kind of devalues the. Why am I buying this? If Ellison is being truthful, we really want to get into movies. We want to make movies. We want to do this. The one that to me, I go, I get what you're saying, John, with the cable and how that's making its money. And I guess would HBO Max be part of that too? Are you selling that off too?
To the best of my, that's being looked at as a completely separate thing.
Okay.
So I mean,
that's part of it.
I think that is something. Like, look, let's put it this way: if Ellison went to the table and said to the people suing them, "We're willing to carve out HBO Max," I think the other side will look at that and say, well, that's a serious move. Like, that is a serious concession. But I just don't see that.
Then you're selling off Harry Potter. Then you're selling off Game of Thrones. Then you're selling off a lot.
I mean, I just don't see them being willing. I honestly think they would sooner consider buying a whole ton of Warner Brothers assets without buying Warner Brothers Studio itself.
Do the inverse
before not taking HBO Max. Like, I honestly think to them, HBO Max is the crown jewel for them,
of course,
in this whole thing.
Yeah, and the other thing, I think that the interesting is letting them operate the way that they were beforehand and just kind of managing it. That would the Ellison still have, even though you're managing them independently, and they're running on a separate thing. It's almost like WCW and WWF back in the day, right? It's like what I always thought that WWF did wrong was take WCW, put it in, just make a one big WWF. I was like, no, they built all this history with WCW and everything you did. Let it run on its own and just run it from the outskirts and do this thing. And that could be interesting if they're running it and still having the overall say, but I don't know if that would be out of the question if they did that. Could the Ellisons still have say on what's made if they're running the studio from the outside?
I don't think so. I think they would have
Right.
to put, I mean,
Then I don't
again,
know.
I think they would own it. I
Yeah.
think they would probably have like budgetary kind of stuff, but they would have to put in safeguards. And we've seen this happen in other merger cases where they would have to put in safeguards that would have to actually demonstrably show that that studio, Warner Brothers in this case,
Yeah.
was operating independently.
That's hard to do for anybody, to let people just play with your money,
Yeah.
though, if you don't have a say in it. So to me, it's like, I think that what they're going to wind up doing is they're going to wind up selling off, even though it was one of the major reasons I think that politically they were allowed to get the deal done. I think they're going to sell off CNN. I think they're going to have to bend the knee, and I think they're going to have to sell off the news organizations and do it. I think, because you mentioned Disney and Fox beforehand, and everyone always says, well, that went through and nobody cared. Everybody cared.
We got the
Everybody
Department
cared.
of Justice sued them.
Everybody cared. It just doesn't seem like it did, because it went through. And the reason why it went through is because they did what they did, and it was jobs, it was other things, and it sucks that so many people lost their jobs. It sucks. But when it comes down to it, when the DOJ was looking at it, they're looking at the political aspect of it first, and then the jobs and everything comes second. And it's unfortunate, but that's how it's going to happen. They're going to go, okay, you know what? You guys decided you're going to sell off the CNN and all that other stuff, and it's not going to be a political thing. All right, the jobs, that sucks. What can you do there? Oh, okay, fine. So sucks that people are losing their jobs, but go ahead and do it. It's unfortunately what's going to happen.
See, I think, because when you look at the Disney Fox deal, they cut out three major pieces. They cut out the Fox network, which was huge. They cut out Fox News, which was huge. And they cut out all of Fox Sports, FS1, FS2. Like, they cut all these huge pieces out. And that's why Fox still exists today as its own completely separate company. Now, Bonta has already said CNN isn't going to do it. CNN's not going to do it. But if they include CNN with TNT, TBS, MTV, Cartoon Network, here's what I think it'll ultimately come down to. I think it'll be a little bit of a mix of all of these things. I think what we'll see is Paramount might come up with a thing where they say, okay, how about this? We'll give up New Line Cinema, the New Line brand. We'll sell it off. We will cut out CNN, TBS, and TNT. We'll sell these areas of a couple of lots. We'll give up a couple of, not Potter, not DC, but a couple of smaller franchises. And we'll even carve out a couple of local ops and stuff like that, like small pieces of all five instead of entireties of all of these. And I think if they did that, I think the states and the WGA would look at it and go, though, that's a big enough concession.
Yeah.
Go ahead with the merger.
Well,
the
what
question
do you
will
wanna
then
do?
be if Paramount will do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they keep talking about how we want to make movies. We want to make movies. We want to be a big studio. We want to make movies. Well, then make movies and sell off the rest of the stuff and take your shot and make your movies. That's how it's going to get done.
So the question will be, how much do the states want them to give up, and how much is Paramount willing to give up? And again, I'm going to be fascinated if we find out that in 2 weeks a meeting happens and they come out of it and say, DC Studios has been sold to Sony Pictures. Like that'll do it. That'll get the deal done, I think. But I mean, I don't know. All I know is that it's something that is on the table and they're talking about. I just don't know if that's a realistic scenario, though. That just seems like too big of a piece of the pie, but we'll see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? What's been made clear is that these little behavioral remedies ain't going to cut it. The states and the WGA want real concessions that will bring the Paramount Warner Brothers deal within good standing of the law. Structural changes will do that. Which structural changes do you think Paramount is going to be willing to do? Which ones do you think they're not going to be willing to do? Do you see them settling this? I still look, Paramount has to get this done. So at the end of the day, I think they'll give up what they have to give up. But which ones are they going to think are too holy of cows, and which one are they going to see as being flexible? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Quince. August is a great time to reset a few things before fall gets crazy, and one of the easiest places to start is your closet. That's where Quince comes in. Quince is all about fewer, better pieces made with premium materials that are designed to actually last. We're talking ultra soft organic cotton tees, Mongolian cashmere sweaters, premium denim, and tailored chinos starting at just $60. And here's what really stands out. Quince prices everything 50 to 80% less than similar brands by working directly with ethical factories and cutting out the middlemen. So you end up paying for the quality, not some giant markup. I've already ordered a number of things from their store. As a matter of fact, I love this shirt. It looks great, and most importantly, it's crazy comfortable. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers, or go to quince.com/Campea. Get free shippings on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Campea.